Hello and welcome back to Florida Foodie. I'm your host, Candace Campos, along with our producer, Thomas Mates.
Hello.
Today's guest has an amazing story. He came to the U.S. as a teenager and started working in his mother's own restaurant. Now, in just about 15 years since then, he owns 2 restaurants of his own, and he's even been nominated for a James Beard Award. We are so happy to have Chef Henry Moso of Kabuki Sushi here. Henry, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so it was funny because I was just about to come in to do this podcast, and I mentioned while I was walking in going, oh, I get to interview the chef of Kabuki, and the newsroom erupted in all of their favorite. You need to ask him about his ribs. You need to ask him about his truffle this and that. I mean, you have a fanfare backing up Kabuki. What's that feeling like when you have these customers who are just so, they're just so emotional about your food?
Honestly, that's really a blessing to hear, humbly speaking. You feel like you have had created something that, I would say is such a heartwarming feeling when you have created something that food speaks for heart, right? It's an act of love. So when you have creating something and people really appreciate it, it's a plus for me. So besides just, income and everything else. So it's a passion, truly.
And you grew up, obviously you came here when you were a teenager. So you grew up in Laos, correct?
Yes, correct. Born and raised. I came here when I was about 16 years old.
Mm-hmm. And what was life like in Laos?
Oh, it's really, it's really, when I grew up over there, it's really kind of low pace, right? I was just kind of a teenager trying to find my passion, over hometown. And just, honestly, it's just not a whole lot of action. But, I just was really young at that time, so.
And you started obviously working for your mother's restaurant. So was it your mother who kind of inspired your passion of being a chef?
Yes, correct. I moved to the state when I was 16. My mother had 2 restaurants at that moment. She had the restaurant over by UCF area called Bangkok Square, and the other location was down the street on Alafaya and East Colonial called Origami. That's kind of how I got my foot into the door to the restaurant industry. And my first job was a dishwasher when I was 16 years old. So that was kind of, the tough position, right, to be in the restaurant. But it's kind of helped me a lot with, kind of get things started, kind of like the toughest position in the restaurant. It's kind of help you polishing your hard work and being tough and, knowing what it's like to be in a dish pit and, take care of be the last one to leave at the restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
So.
How'd you graduate from dishwashing to cooking?
Yeah, so since I was little, I always have a passion about, sushi and Japanese culture, all the above. And I kind of asked my mother one day, I would like to, get up to the sushi bar and train with one of the chefs and, try things out, even though I'm really young at that time. And my mom gave me an opportunity to do so. And next thing you know, I was a fastest sushi roller when I was 17 years old.
It's really an art, though. When you sit there, and that's my favorite thing. I'm not a big bar sitting fan with most things, but when it comes to a sushi bar, it's almost like you're sitting there, you're watching a show. And that's what I feel like Kabuki is all about.
I agree. Sushi bar is definitely the best spot to be, to be sit at. You get to vibe with the chef. You see the movement. And food. As far as sushi, you need to, when you cook at the sushi bar and get served fresh, and you see the emotion, how it prepare, and things like that. I think that's where where the action is, the sushi bar.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people from Laos, when they come to the States, if they open a restaurant, it's typically not a Laos restaurant. It's usually like Thai or something similar, because Laos food isn't as well known and Thai is kind of adjacent. Do you bring a lot of Lao influence into sushi making? Very traditionally Japanese cuisine.
One thing we have similar in Laotian food and Japanese is the sticky rice, right?
Mm-hmm.
We use a lot of rice, but not necessary. Kabuki concept contemporary. I honestly I use global cuisine twists. Could be French technique, a little bit of Mexican twist. A little bit of Italian, a little bit flavor up making uni pasta, things like that. So it's definitely fun to be just non-traditional. That's what I want to call it. I like to put a little bit of my memory of when they fortunate enough to travel, have tasting with a different restaurant and replicate that and put a little touch of my own experience into my own creation.
So you just described it, contemporary, non-traditional. Why is it that you wanted to kind of break out? Because it seems like your mom's restaurants were probably a little more traditional, and you kind of just wanted to flip that upside down. I mean, how would you describe Kabuki other than just untraditional? If you had to put a couple more words to it.
Yes. I guess, every chef have their own personality and their own creation, that different mentality. I'm the type of person that kind of like to think things outside the box. And I feel like I still respect the protein, the traditional way of, filleting the fish, the way receiving all this technique. I just feel like to be fun, to have a little bit of tasting menu and be able to incorporate a lot of that little different technique of different cuisine into sushi.
So you last year you were nominated for James Beard Award, which is like, for people who may not know, like the huge, the Oscars of restaurants, food. How was that experience? How did that feel? And you were the only Orlando-based chef to even be nominated. That had to have been a real badge of honor.
Absolutely, that was a huge honor. I wasn't expecting any was nominated whatsoever. I was nominated for the Rising Star category, whoever 30 years old or younger. And I was nominated one of the 30th chef in the whole country, and that was really a shocking moment towards me, and I was really blessed and really appreciated that that I was nominated for that. So.
I mean, not only are you quickly rising as a young chef, but you're also expanding. I mean, you guys started in this, how many people did it sit? It was like in the corner.
44-seat restaurant.
Yeah, and now you took the time during the pandemic to expand while so many people were probably doing the complete opposite. How's the expansion going? Opening up a second location? Kind of give us the feel of your growing family.
Absolutely. So 2 years ago, I was trying to do something about the expansion because we've been operating for 7 years now over by the original location on East Colonial, and I was trying to knock down the next door and then try to offer him to buy them out and try to figure it out how can I get bigger at that moment, but the opportunity to casting come at that time. So I just roll my dice and just try to find a location and came across the second location over by Sand Lake location, Turkey Lake and Sand Lake Road, over by the Bay Hill Shopping Plaza. And I found this opportunity where it's a second generation restaurant. And I purchased the business, and we've been operating for 2 years, really blessed. The business has been really great for us. And of course, the pandemic happened right after the JMBR nominee last year. And we took a pretty huge, obviously, for everybody, effect with the hospitality, especially business. And then I was have to close for 2 months after location over by Salt Lake, but we're still operating over by East Colonial at that moment for just takeout.
Mm-hmm.
And then, government offered, PPP, which would play a big part of recovering and help out a lot of hospitality. And I decided to reopen with that PPP money. I decided to reopen the second location, Salt Lake location. And we've been doing pretty good at that time with the recovering. And I decided to take another risk and roll my dice to close the East Colonial location, because at that time our neighbor was happened to move forward with the new opportunity and have an empty space for original location East Colonial. So I took my risk, and I'm glad I did. We closed July 2020, and we reopened it 4 months later, right around October.
Wow.
November. We did a pretty quick remodeling, about 3 to 4 months, and I'm glad I did. And the business been really good for us.
Yeah.
So how big was the expansion? Like, how many people can you seat now? It was like 40 people before, and now it's what?
No, it's definitely comfortably close to 100, and we also be able to meet the code for COP, which full bar. To be able to bring out the full liquor license to the location, and we definitely elevated our atmosphere, our vibe, and also like the whole new built out, and be able to bring out the cocktail and full liquors also played a big part for this concept as well.
I mean, Henry, it looks swanky. It looks like, when I was looking through pictures of your new spot, it was like you wanted to go there for a date night. You wanted to go there with a bunch of your girlfriends and try different sushi and the type of sushi that you're kind of thinking outside the role, right? So it's kind of what your feel was.
Absolutely. The way I look at it was the consumer too, because I'm a foodie. I like to diet out myself. Believe it or not, I actually remodeled. I actually designed the whole restaurant myself.
Wow.
Yes, I was the interior designer myself. It's definitely helped when you be able to pick a lot of element and all these pieces together, and it's kind of proud, when you see the complete vision that you actually have been dream about. And absolutely, I feel like this is so important for not just good food, to be able to make good food. I feel like, the music's help, the lighting, Instagram fairly, white marble wall, all this slick and cool, space or element is definitely play a big part. I'm absolutely appreciate the detail on every aspect of it. So.
All right. So my favorite question to ask chefs are, what is your one, if you had to pick one favorite item on the menu, what would it be?
I love nigiri, which fresh cut fish, on top of the sushi, warm rice. You have to pick, one item will be shutoro, which mean the medium fat cut from bluefin tuna, and it's called shutoro, which is medium fat, right? And it's just to simply go over the top of a warm sushi rice and serve with a little bit of house infused soy and kasami wasabi.
Yeah.
Real simple. Don't want to mess with it too much.
Yes, exactly.
Well, everyone can't stop talking about these ribs of yours. Everyone's like, ask about the ribs. What's so special about the ribs? Tell me.
I think the texture and the flavor of it is a lot of a combination that go into it. Because we braise it's like 6-7 hours a day before we refry them again to make it crispy. So the rib in general is already have so much flavor already. But if you be able to make them tender with the herb and liquid and all this fantastic stuff that go into it, which we use a lot, like a little bit of tamarind, a little bit of herb. We see it, get a nice little color. We braise it a day before, like I have mentioned. And the next day you have them rest really well in the cooler. So the flavor of the meat is really soak into all the liquid you embraced the day before. And now you really rest your meat. Just like we all know, when you cook good steak or any good meat, you need to have the meat kind of well rested. And the next day, when you bring them up to the room temp and you add a little bit of cornstarch, a little light seasoning, and you fry them, and you add a nice, really kind of like sweet and sour, a little hint of Cajun twist.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me. You're killing me.
Because I'm like, I'm a huge fan of like a Cajun cuisine as well. So the rib have a little bit of like Cajun kicks and a little bit of heat to that. That what make everybody lick their finger.
Yeah, well, you're spelling it. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We all have all the information, of course, on clickorlando.com where they can find you. And thank you again so much for spending the time with us and talking about your love, kabuki.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. You guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Florida Foodie. We'd also like to thank our guest, Chef Henry Moso from Kabuki Sushi. You can find the restaurant online at kabukisushi.com. You can also find it on Facebook by searching @Kabuki Orlando and Instagram @Kabuki_Orlando. Candace Campos is on social media as well. She's on Twitter, just search @CandaceNews6, and on Facebook, search Candace Campos News 6. I'd also like to thank our technical producers Derek Mosier and Ryan Haley. I'm the show's producer Thomas Mates. Florida Foodie is available to download wherever you get your podcasts. Please take the time to rate and review us. And you can find videos of all of our podcasts at clickorlando.com/podcasts.